Waheguru Guru Ki Kalasa, Wahaguru Guru Ki Fatai. Could I say thank you very much for inviting me here today at the Gurdwara. I've just come this afternoon from the memorial service for the late Stephen Lawrence, who was killed 25 years ago today. Young black man killed on the streets of London by a racist attack. And the church of St Martin in the Fields was completely full for that occasion. And I think it's at those occasions we stand in solidarity with all those that have suffered at the hands of racists or violence within our society. There is no place for racism, there is no place for violence, there is no place for intolerance, there is only space for respect and support for each other, and celebrate the diversity of our country and celebrate the diversity of culture, of language, faith, and background and understanding of history. That is what makes us strong as a people together. And I'm full of admiration for the work done by people from your community. Nina Gill, a member of the European Parliament, sadly the only Sikh member of the entire European Parliament, and she speaks up for the entire community, but she speaks up for all communities. I attended a meeting of the Labour members of the European Parliament last year, and Nina arrived with a very, very large tray of cakes. It was wonderful. And she was there because she wanted to celebrate Diwali and wanted them all to celebrate Diwali. That is her approach and inclusion. Nina, thank you so much for what you do and for the work you do in Sikhs for Labour. And to the members of Parliament now, Tan and Nina, incredible people speaking up in Parliament for the community and for their communities. And I'm very, very proud that they are Labour MPs, and I want to see them joined by many more Sikh Labour MPs in the future. Tan, as the first turban Sikh MP, made history in so doing. And when I was in his constituency, we went to meet a group of homeless people using a church hall as their only comfort during the day, a day centre where they could get something to eat and a little bit of support. And what impressed me was the dedication of the volunteers that were helping there, of course. But what also impressed me was Tan's empathy, understanding and solidarity with them, but also his commitment to make sure that they do get housing and they are treated properly in the future, and that Slough Borough Council does find a place for that homeless shelter to move on to when the present facilities are no longer available to them. And to Preet Gill, who cannot be here this evening, she contacted me to say that unfortunately she's had to be in Parliament because today we're dealing with the injustice of the Windrush generation. A generation of people who came to this country, as did many in your community, after the Second World War and since, and have built this country. The roads, the railways, the railway system, the health service, the education system, science and engineering, done so much, and now to be so disgracefully told they've got to leave this country. Well, the revulsion, the popular revulsion at this over the past couple of weeks has changed government policy, not least of, I may say so, because our Shadow Home Secretary, Diane Abbott, predicted exactly this in 2013 when the issue was first debated in Parliament, and she was told by the Prime Minister she was scaremongering. Just saying that sometimes you should listen to people and what they say. And the community's contribution, your community's contribution to my freedom, to your freedom, to our freedom, are the 80,000 Sikhs who lost their lives. They stood for freedom, they stood to defeat fascism in the Second World War, and they stood for a decent and better society. And therefore I was very proud to be able to support the campaign for a Central London War Memorial. But also when the issue came up of what happened in 1984, I was in Parliament at the time. Obviously, I remember the debates and the discussion about it, and I was one of those that continually raised the issue. And I was very pleased to be able to put that commitment and that pledge into our manifesto. And you can be very sure that whenever the election comes, it will be in the next manifesto as well. It is a commitment that's going to be there, and we will honour that commitment. We're celebrating Baisakhi. This Gurdwara, like many across the country, is filled with worshippers, celebrating the birth of Khalsa Panth 300 years ago. Now, Khalsa believed in protecting the most vulnerable in society and defending the rights of diverse communities so that people could live in harmony. Gurdwaras do that every day in, day out, supporting people, feeding people, giving people that sense and that place of comfort, and I thank you for that. The Labour Party shares those values because we have this ambition, this concept, this idea that a strong society is not one that's divided. A strong society isn't one where one community is stronger than the other. A strong society is communities coming together in solidarity in the face of adversity. And I was very proud that the community I represent in North London, around Finsbury Park, suffered a terrible murder last summer when far-right extremists killed Makram Ali, a man coming home from late-night prayers during Ramadan. And we've put up a plaque in his memory in a park, in the place where he used to play with his grandchildren, in his memory. And the day after his killing, thousands of people came out onto the streets of all faiths, all communities, to express their solidarity with his family and with the mosque and say, we're a community that is not going to be divided by people who would divide us on the grounds of hate. So your kitchens, feeding people, are part of a living example of what communities can do together. I was outside Grenfell after the fire took place. Of course, there were Sikhs there. Of course, there was food being offered. Of course, there was a kitchen being offered straight away, because that's what the community does. And I'm proud to lead a party that has been the first to introduce anti-racist legislation into the British Parliament in the 1960s and strengthened it onwards, that did introduce the Human Rights Act and the Equalities Act, that is determined to create a society where homelessness is a thing of the past, where going into debt to get an education is a thing of the past, and we're a society that's proud of ensuring that all our young people have a chance to achieve. I think we do best when we work together, and I want our children to grow up in a society where they do understand the multiple faith society we're in, understand differences in faith, yes, but also understand that central tenet of peace, that central tenet of justice, and that central tenet of wanting a society that works for and cares for all. I want to thank Sikhs for Labour for what they've done in our party, the message they brought to the party, the organisation they brought to the party, and giving us 2 brilliant MPs, a brilliant member of the European Parliament, and there's going to be very many more brilliant people from the Sikh community in all of our public offices in the future. I'm here to campaign with my friend Jagda for the mayoral election in Watford. We're in Watford last year. We launched our Race and Faith Manifesto, that wonderful event that afternoon. And I was here in Watford on the eve of the general election when we had that magnificent rally in the town centre. And I was here very recently campaigning and door knocking with Jagtar. In him, you've got a candidate who understands your community, of course, but he understands all the other communities as well. 20 years in public office representing people means that he is very, very well equipped to be the mayor for the whole community, the mayor for all the people of Watford, and carry that message forward. And I'm very proud to stand alongside him, urging people to recognise his values and support him on May the 3rd, or if they've got a postal vote, do it a little bit earlier, because we don't want to lose your vote. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. Thank you very much for the kindness you've given to me on so many occasions in different Gurdwaras around the country. I can just say what an absolute pleasure it is. Preet said, Nina said something which I really don't agree with earlier on. She said, Jeremy, John and Tom know everything about the Sikh community. John and Tom might, I don't. I need to learn more, because we all need to learn more about and from each other, the values that we bring to our communities and our lives. So I thank you for that, and thank you for inviting me here today. Wahahe Guru Kaka Keka Kalsa Wahaha Garu Kapate.
Bole Soneha.
What are the next steps you're going to take to get justice for Sikhs in 1984?
What we've said in our manifesto, and I've made the pledge today that will be in future manifestos, is an inquiry into what happened in 1984 so that justice can be done. There's also the question of recognising the sacrifices made by hundreds of thousands of Sikh soldiers in both world wars. Our freedom from fascism in our society is in part due to the sacrifices of Sikh soldiers in World War II. The very least we can do is have a central London memorial to demonstrate their contribution, their sacrifice for our freedom. Family photo.